Good morning, Gamecocks, and happy game day.
Welcome to SGTV's Gamecock Gameday, where we lay down everything you need to know about Gamecock football.
Stay tuned to hear our thoughts on today's top 25 matchup, our Cocky Call question of the week, and South Carolina's third road win in a row.
All that and more coming up. Welcome to Gamecock Gameday.
Thanks for sticking with us, Gamecocks. I'm Sebastian Godun.
And I'm Austin McConnell. Gamecock football became bowl eligible this past weekend after defeating the Vanderbilt Commodores 28-7. This is the first time since 2011 the Gamecocks have won 3 road games in a row. This is also the 16th time in a row that the Gamecocks have taken down Vanderbilt.
The win also helped them break into the college football playoff rankings in the 21st spot and the AP top 25 rankings at number 23. Raheem "Rocket" Sanders is largely to thank for the Gamecocks' impressive performance. Sanders is responsible for 3 of the 4 Gamecock touchdowns and 126 of their total 214 rushing yards. He also led the team averaging 8.4 yards per carry.
The game was scoreless until the start of the second quarter when Lenore Sellers was able to find Joshua Simon in the end zone for a 17-yard touchdown pass. Both teams traded punts until the third quarter when Rocket Sanders took over the game. Sanders was able to break free and take a 33-yard trip downfield to the Vanderbilt end zone.
Soon after, the Commodores were finally able to put some numbers on the board with a 17-yard rushing touchdown from quarterback Diego Pavia. Rocket Sanders scored his second touchdown of the game soon after with a quick 1-yard run. Sanders and the Gamecocks finally shut the door on Vanderbilt in the fourth quarter with a 43-yard touchdown pass from Sellers to Sanders. So listen, this was a really good game. I saw a lot of good on our offense and defense. I feel like I'm kind of reaching here with being nitpicky with some things. But, I did see, from Lenoris, still struggling when he's running with the ball, trouble with protecting that. He did have a turnover, which we then got soon after, luckily. But trouble protecting that when he's running. He has been good with his throws. I've liked that. He seems much more confident as we've gone on throughout the season with his throws. He still is taking a long time to throw the ball when he's making that decision. But, I saw a lot of false starts on the offense. I was concerned about that. Defense was good, but I feel like we were more reactive than proactive this game. And I think that could hurt us in the future if we don't fix that. But again, those are, I feel like I'm kind of being nitpicky, but it was a good game. So I'm curious to see what you thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen someone handle Vandy like that all year with how worse it could have gone. It was only 7-0 at halftime, like we've mentioned. And you mentioned Lenore's being comfortable in the pocket, maybe a little too comfortable. The line held up and has looked good the last few weeks, just that disciplinary issues that they've faced. I think once they clean those up, going against Missouri, which we'll talk about later in the show, it's just going to be, against SEC teams that continue to win. Vandy doesn't always have these good of a season, so definitely against a team like that could have been a lot more catastrophic for the Gamecocks. But it was in the rain, it was on the road, they got the win, that's all that mattered. Last week on my show, I had on my paper, just win, just find ways to win, and they did just that. So I'm proud of them for getting the win. Lenoris, like you said, 14 for 20 in the air, had 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rocket continues to shine with 3 total touchdowns. It was good to see Nick Harbor get in the game a little bit. He had about 43 yards last week, obviously alongside Jared Brown and Joshua Simon. They looked pretty good. The wide receiver core is starting to expand and give Lenore some more targets downfield.
Yeah, Nick Harbor, he had a tough hit, I remember, in the first or second quarter. I was kind of worried, but I was glad to see him playing more in that game. I was really happy to see that. Again, like you said, Rocket Sanders, he also topped the team in receiving yards. So Rocket had a great game. I've loved to see him play this past season and get a lot better. I was kind of sad on that first drive. We had such a long drive, and we had some good plays there, and then it ended in a missed field goal by Alex Herrera.
I was waiting for you to bring it up.
I know. I bring it up every time. But another 42-yarder, which was the same distance that he missed against LSU.
Yep.
And I mean, I think, if we expect to continue doing well, like that's just going to keep hurting us. And, we've hoped that he's going to get better, and he's had some good games. I'll give him that. He's had some good games where he's come out and hit these longer field goals, I guess.
Yep.
But he continues to just miss the same ones every week. And I know Beamer wants to stay positive, and he's not going to put down his team. But I think that's definitely something that needs to be looked at going on. And that's something that we can continue to kind of talk about every week.
And special teams is usually where Beamer ball thrives. Right. So to see them struggling like this is a little eye-opening. So definitely hoping they can turn that around and fix that. But now it's time for this week's cocky call straight from the Gamecock gridiron.
Could a 9-3 South Carolina team make the college football playoffs? Now, I think I brought up this question because I've seen a lot online that there have been a lot of fans who are optimistically hopeful, I'll say, about us possibly making the college football playoff. I think there was someone from the committee who said that a possible 9-3 SEC team could possibly make the playoffs, and there's a chance. I don't know if she was really talking about us, but here's the thing for me. You know, there are other SEC teams that are doing a lot better. 11-1, Tennessee, Texas could be 11-1 by the end of the season. There are 10-2 teams like Georgia and Ole Miss who are clearly better than us.
Yeah.
And I think when you're going into there's only 12 spots here. And we saw this past week they were considering taking out Georgia as the first out. So I think that, when there's these other teams, there's 4 other teams, and there's other teams in the country. It's not just the SEC going into the college football playoffs. Right. I think when we have other teams that have a better record, those are what's going to make it. And unfortunately, we're not going to make it. 9-3 would be good. I would love to see us win out the rest of the schedule and do well in our bowl game eventually. But I think 9-3, they were tough. They were tough losses, LSU and Alabama, and I think the committee acknowledged that when they put us right over LSU. They acknowledged, that was probably down to the rest, and we should have won that. But when it comes down to it, the record is 9-3. We have 3 losses. A loss is a loss. It doesn't matter how much you lost by. So I think, for me, I don't think that we have a good chance, and I personally would rather see us win the bowl game, and just have a good momentum going into the next season where we can further develop.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen ESPN has given us that 13% chance that you talked about being a 9-3 SEC team. It definitely helps being in the SEC and having a strength of schedule as we do. It's just those losses. Had Alabama and LSU gone the other way, it would have been a lot different. But I have probably not as well. Clemson would be a good win to help boost the resume if they keep winning. They are just ahead of us in the polls right now. But we still have Wofford on our schedule. That's not the most intriguing win at the end of the day. And then Missouri, who I don't even think should be ranked, we play today. So if we were even to beat Missouri, Wofford, and then a good Clemson team, I think it would still take so much happening in front of us for teams to lose and keep beating each other. And then the Big Ten has 4 teams in the top 5. Right. So you mentioned we're not the only conference in the league in the NCAA. So it's just going to be very interesting to see what plays out in front of us. I don't know who's going to even make it to the SEC championship because that is up for grabs right now. But Tennessee and Georgia's today. That's a big weekend. Even if Georgia was to lose, we would need Tennessee to lose a few games, and there's only a few games left in the season. So it's just a very steep hill we would have to climb to get there. But at the beginning of the year, I said, let's just get back to a bowl game. Let's get back to postseason play. And having a 9-3 record is going to be better than I thought we would have at all. I thought our ceiling was going to be 7-5, 6-6 at the most. So to be 6-3 going into the final few weeks of the season is definitely a lot more comforting. It allows us to get more aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there are these better teams, especially in these other conferences. And I think that the thing that people always forget is that 13% doesn't mean that, we as a team just have a 13% chance if we continue to do well. That means that encompasses all these other teams doing poorly. Yeah. In order for us, we have to win out, and then these other teams also have to do poorly in order for us to get that spot, and that's just not going to happen. We're just not going to be placed over teams like Georgia, who have the number 1 strength of schedule, even if they end up 10-2. So
absolutely.
I don't think so, but again, like I said, I would love for us to win a bowl game, and just have great momentum going into next season.
Absolutely. Stay tuned after the break to hear our thoughts on today's SEC matchup.
Welcome back, Gamecocks. It's week 12, and the Gamecocks find themselves with a 6-3 overall record and a 4-3 conference record as they return to Williams-Brice Stadium this evening to take on number 24, Missouri.
The Gamecocks and Tigers are both 3-2 in their last 5 games and sit close to each other on the college football rankings at 21 and 23. Both teams recently suffered losses to Alabama. However, the Gamecocks only suffered a 2-point deficit versus Missouri's 34-point loss. Missouri also fell 41-10 to Texas A&M a few weeks ago, where the Gamecocks were able to best the Aggies 44-20.
However, the last time the two teams met each other in 2023, the Tigers were able to best the Gamecocks 34-12 at Memorial Stadium. The Gamecocks are looking to rewrite history with their own home field advantage this evening at Williams-Brice Stadium. So going into this game, I mean, looking at it from my perspective, Mizzou isn't convincing. You know, I mean, they're ranked, but like we just talked about, they haven't had very many convincing wins. In the last 5 games, they beat OU 30-23. We also beat OU, and OU hasn't. You know, they came in thinking that they were going to be a good team this season, and they really weren't. They lost to Bama 34-0. Like we said, we lost to 2 points, so I'd put us above there. They beat Auburn, but again, Auburn is not good this season. That's not a convincing win.
Barely beat Auburn.
Barely beat Auburn. They beat Massachusetts. That's again not a trophy win. And then lost to A&M 41-10. Those are their last 5 games. Based on that, I would say that we're a much better team. You know, at Vandy we won 28-7. A&M won 44-20. OU 35-9. Bama 2-point loss, and then Ole Miss we lost 27-3. But I mean, Ole Miss is a great team right now, and you know that loss just keeps getting more and more convincing for our strength of schedule. So, comparing the schedules side by side, I think that we have a lot more convincing wins to our name right now, and I think that Mizzou might be a little overrated right now, and I think that the rankings alone aren't something to go solely off of.
Yeah, I agree. They're entirely overrated. I mean, their only ranked win this season was against Boston College in Week 1, and Boston College might not even make a bowl game. So it's really, on paper, it should be full Gamecocks today. I'm not sure why the committee continues to rank Missouri. I think there's much more deserving teams out there. They went to double overtime versus Vandy when we, looked a little sloppy, but beat them 28-7 and still beat them pretty handedly. So, I mean, the 3 teams that Missouri lost to or barely beat, we've crushed. And, obviously, like you mentioned, Bama getting shut out at home 34-0 was brutal for Missouri. So, I don't know. I really can't get behind Missouri. I know Brady Cook's a good quarterback, but he's got that wrist injury lingering. He's going to be a game time decision today. He's going to warm up and see how he feels. But, I mean, it's just, I think the Gamecocks can really dominate today if they want to. If they really play strong, if they really play disciplined, like we talked about earlier, if they just do the little things right, I think they're going to really have a good opportunity to blow out Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, I am a little worried based on our past with them. Beamer said in his press conference this week that in the past our team hasn't been good on both offense and defense against Missouri, and that's what's really brought us down against them in the past. We lost the last 5 games to them. But whether they play Brady Cook or Drew Pine, they're both. Beamer said that they've been preparing the same way. They both like to run the ball, and I think our defense is good at stopping that. Yeah, our defense has been really good at that this season, and so I think no matter what, if we, like you said, if we go into this confidently, don't make mistakes, I think that we have a good chance. I am a little worried by our past, but I think that we've proved against that this season, and I think that we can kind of overcome that and beat this 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, and Missouri was really good last year. They were top 10 for most of the season. Obviously beat us 34-12. That game was kind of over from the start, but these are 2 different teams from last year. Both Gamecocks and Tigers are completely different this year. So I think we have a much better matchup on our hands. This always feels like a trap game, though. It's always this like mid-November trap game that we always find ourselves losing by a couple scores. So I think you're right. I'm a little worried about just Missouri having our number, but I think this is a year they can turn it around and flip that script.
Yeah, the only other thing I'm worried about is every time in the past when we've gotten ranked, we then kind of just lose everything the next week. So I'm really worried about that, but I think that Beamer has, at least from what I've seen, done a good job of reminding the team that, just because we're ranked now, we can't just give up, We're not like automatically this great team. We still need to have that mindset of we're the underdog and we still want to win and we need to still prove ourselves. We haven't proven anything yet.
Absolutely. And before we go, here's our predictions for today's score. I've got the Gamecocks 28-10.
And I am also going to take the Gamecocks 38-6. Some of my points for this, it's our last SEC matchup. I would love to see us have a blowout win here. I think it could be a blowout win. Again, if we just play good football and just kind of come in confidently. It's going to be a semi-night game, and I think we've seen at Williams-Brice Stadium this year the Parents Weekend game, that was a night game, and then Texas A&M. They were both great games, and we did really well on them. And I think I'll continue to say this. Williams-Brice Stadium at night is just a great atmosphere, and I think the players love it too, and they just play better in that atmosphere.
Yep.
So the night game aspect. I think our defense, if we can stop their running game again and just have a strong defense and not make little mistakes and be proactive instead of reactive, like I was saying earlier, I think we'll be good. And then just the momentum that we've had the past few weeks. We've had great momentum online and on the field, and I think that that's really contributed to the win last week, and I think that could contribute to the win this week.
Absolutely. We just mentioned it. It's a good revenge game, I think. I think they've had this boiled up for a while. I guarantee you all week Shane Beamer's been reminding them how much they keep beating us. I know they want to get back at Missouri. And so I think this is a good chance for them to flip that script. And honestly, even when if they're up big in the first half, don't hold back. Just keep your foot on the gas, because we tend to do that a little bit. We don't play a full 60 minutes. So I would like to see just 4 complete quarters where we dominate every drive, every possession. That's what I would like to see, and if we do that, I think it's going to be more than 28-10, but my humble self is going to make it 28-10.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's going to be a great game, and like I said, I hope it's going to be a blowout.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap up our show for today. Thanks for tuning in to Gamecock Game Day.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook at SGTV at USC. To keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtv@usc.com. I'm Sebastian Godun.
And I'm Austin McConnell. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great day, Carolina. Forever to thee.